Okay, so now we're going to try to create a keylogger. I have commented out sections of this code. Reason being is that certain aspects of this source code only apply to specific operating systems. And currently the code is, well, it is on a Linux-based machine. So if we wanted to build it for other operating systems, we can comment out and recomment certain stuff. That includes some of our crates. So if we wanted to build for Windows, we would use the Win API. Since we're on Linux, we're using the evdev. If we were on Mac OS, we'd use Cocoa. Moving on back to our main or entry point file here. So we're using our standard file system file and IO write. And then we have platform specific imports as well. We've got a config here for Linux where we're going to use evdev device key. Within our main method here, we have our Windows, Mac, and Linux, and we have a panic for if the operating system is not supported. So the detect OS, that specific function determines the operating system at runtime and then runs it through a match statement. So you can also see it here, which we're referencing here. So let OS detect OS. Goes to the detect OS and checks for the target operating system. This is extremely over-engineered, but it's over-engineered for educational purposes. We have a return type here. So the function returns a string slice, so and static string, which is a reference to a string literal that lives for the entire duration of the program. The config CFG exclamation mark is a macro which at compile time checks to determine which operating system the code is being compiled for. And then we have our Linux hook. So if we scroll down to our Linux hook here, we have our device open. So it opens an input device file. The device path may need adjustment to correspond with your keyboard's input event. We have a reference with ev.kind, which uses a reference to determine the type of event. And we have our file handling, which uses a mutable reference, so mute, for writing to keys.txt. So references, what are they? Well, these do not own data, but point to data owned by another part of the program. Using and creates a reference allowing borrowing without transferring ownership. Mutable references, so and mute, allow data to be modified via the reference. Used when writing to files or modifying open file handles. So within the comments, as I was showing earlier, we have our Windows and our Mac OS, which uses references to interact with system calls via the Win API for Windows, and for the Mac OS, it's Objective-C APIs through Cocoa to capture their events. So this code at runtime does check which platform it's running on. However, due to permissions and how the different operating systems handle, we would need to introduce additional complexity in order for it to actually fully work cross-platform.